200 new jobs.
Has expired, and I call the member for Dunkley.
Speaker, facts matter. The truth matters. This is what we teach students at school. We look around this chamber today and we have students who have been watching Question Time, students who are here watching us. What do we teach students at school about how they should prosecute an argument? We teach them to stand up for what they believe in and to make their argument forcefully, but to make it based on facts. We teach students at school that you should politely but firmly address your opponent based on facts. You shouldn't bully them. You shouldn't resort to personal insults. And you know what? If the facts don't support your argument, just admit it. If you get something wrong, admit it. We don't teach children in our schools that we don't let the facts get in the way of a good argument. We don't teach them that unless maybe they're studying advertising, because that seems to be the place where facts don't matter. And sadly, the other place where facts don't seem to matter at the moment is on the government benches. If we want our children to live up to what we teach them, then this place needs to demonstrate what we're teaching them. It's not what they're getting from this government. The Prime Minister, he likes to claim that emissions per person and the emissions intensity of the economy are at their lowest levels in 29 years. But what does he fail to mention? That emissions across the economy are in fact rising and have risen every year since the government abolished the carbon price. But don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. He said that emissions in the electricity sector have fallen, but he fails to mention that emissions in the other sectors of the economy are rising, for example, transport. But don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Mr Morrison, the Prime Minister, has claimed that the media was misrepresenting Australia's climate change record. It's not his fault. Negative media coverage has fuelled criticism from him. It's completely false and completely misleading. People are expressing prejudiced views about Australia's climate policy. What has the Prime Minister said? Where do they get their information from? Who knows? Maybe they read it. Maybe they did read it. Maybe they read it in a peer-reviewed scientific journal. Maybe they read the record of what this government hasn't done on climate change. Maybe they looked at the facts and they came to the conclusion that this government has no real plan to reach the Paris targets, and we are not going to get there. Maybe the young people of Australia are doing what they're taught at school. They're looking up the facts, they're based on research, and they're arguing for a better future. They're not going to sit back, the young people, and accept what they are being fed in this parliament by the government and by the Prime Minister. Of course they're anxious about the future. They're not just anxious because the facts tell them that we are facing a climate emergency. They're anxious because they've got a government and a Prime Minister that basically tells them they should just go back to school and not worry about the future. And they've got a government that's not acting. But don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Australians deserve better from their government. They deserve better than spin, obfuscation and avoidance. Right? They deserve a government that acknowledges the challenges we are facing now into the future and that's willing to engage in a real conversation, not just yelling at people from across the chamber, a real conversation and a debate about finding the answers. But they're not getting that. In Question Time yesterday, I asked the Prime Minister whether the record low wages growth we have experienced under the 6 years of the Liberal government is a contributing factor to record household debt. Because, of course, how can we address the problems unless we first acknowledge the facts and where they've come from? Did I get an answer that made any sense and address the facts? No. Read the Hansard. You'll find out for yourself. But the facts are clear. Economic growth is at its lowest since the GFC. Household median income is lower than it was in 2013. Worst wages growth on record. Household debt at record lows. Business investment at its lowest since the 1990s recession. Declining productivity. Net debt has more than doubled. What do we hear from the other side of the chamber? Don't talk down the economy. Actually, look at the facts, come up with a plan and do something for the future of the country.
I call the